Welcome everybody to the very first LeCats REDCap Hour. This is our first REDCap Hour. Our plan is for it to last 1 hour. That might be up to you. We planned some content, some basic information about REDCap that we're going to go through with you, but we want this presentation to be dynamic. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and use the chat window within the Skype for Meeting interface. Just go ahead and use that chat window to get questions to us, or if you have any problems hearing us or anything like that, just let us know and we'll do what we can to fix it. One thing I will ask, if you have a webcam, if you wouldn't mind turning it on, it just gives us some feedback to see faces out there as opposed to just talking to the screen. So that would be great. I have with me, make sure I've got, not sure if you can see Daniel or not.
Looks like in my picture. But...
Okay, good. Okay, I have with me today Daniel Lorio, who is the REDCap administrator for LeCats, and my name is David Alexander. I'm the core director of Cyberinfrastructure Enhancement. We like to call it the KCA, the little KCA with the big name. Daniel and I represent about half of Cyberinfrastructure Enhancement. We'll be showing you around today and fielding your questions. But if you have any questions about REDCap at any time, go ahead and email us at redcap@pvrc.edu. That's an email address that a number of us share, so you'll definitely find one of us if one of us is not available. And here's a rough agenda for today about what we want to cover. Just real briefly, what is REDCap in terms of what this product is in case you haven't used it before. And then what can you do with REDCap? Daniel's going to give us a demo of just some uses for REDCap and what you can actually do with it. It's a highly useful tool. And then how do I start using REDCap at LeCats? And finally, a question and answer session. If you have any specific questions about REDCap, we'll get down to those. So let's go ahead and get started. What is REDCap? You've probably seen REDCap is an acronym that stands for Research Electronic Data Capture. And just real broadly, it's a secure web application for building and managing online surveys and databases. It's HIPAA compliant and geared to support online data capture. It has a lot of capabilities. It's extensible. I just got back from the REDCap conference that happens annually. There's a lot of exciting stuff that's coming down the pike. And what we hope to do today is give you that good basic introduction, but then we'll return monthly to show you new features and new questions that you might have with the product. Anyway, that's the plan that we have. Just to give you a little bit of history, REDCap was created in 2004 at Vanderbilt University. In 2006, the REDCap Consortium was launched, and in 2009, an annual International REDCap Conference was established, and that's the conference that I just returned from. Worldwide, there's over 2,500 active institutions that are using REDCap, and that's in 116 different countries. There's over 454,000 projects that have been created by nearly 600,000 users worldwide. So REDCap is widely adopted, widely used. There's a lot of uses for it. And that's what we're hoping to show you today. And incidentally, almost 4,000 journal articles cite REDCap, which is what we'll ask you to do if you use the product. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand over the mouse to Daniel Lorio. Before we get started, does anyone have any questions about the direction for today? Again, go ahead and use your chat window if you can. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and step out of the PowerPoint and into REDCap itself and let Daniel guide you. And again, if you have any questions while we're going, please make those through the chat window. Thank you.
All right, for today, I'd like to show you what REDCap is about and how to get started with it when creating a new project. This is just going to be more of a basic tutorial, and I'll try to describe things as I go along. So I just logged into my account. If you're an external user, meaning people that are outside of Pennington Biomedical Research Center, then we would need to set up a user account for you after you've been approved by LCATs and all that. But since I've approved myself, I've logged in. You'll see this dashboard right here. So you'll have a title bar with home, my projects, new project. If you have assigned rights for it, you should be able to see a new project. They have a help and fact, training videos, and also send it, which is more of a newer feature for REDCap, to where you can actually send messages to other people inside REDCap. So I'm gonna go into new project. So we'll create a basic project that we can use for surveys, for collecting data. So survey, and as a survey project, right here we have purpose of the project. We can use it for practices or just for fun, meaning testing purposes, demonstration purposes, etc. Operational support. Sometimes REDCap is used for support for infrastructures and stuff like that. Most of the time it's being used for research and quality improvement. So when you're choosing these choices, it just has different options that you can choose from. It's mainly for information about your project that you can keep, and whenever somebody looks at it, you'll know what's going on with it. So this will be just practice for fun. We won't have to fill in all that information. Project notes, if you want to add something there, then you can. Then you can start from creating an empty project, which means it would just add one field typically, which would be like the record ID, and you can go from there. But I was going to use a template, which gives you an idea, which is probably where you want to start if you're just starting out with REDCap.
Those are supplied by REDCap?
Yeah, these are default ones that are supplied by REDCap. So you can go either get just like this would be one data instrument. So and just to get a feel of that, that's what we'll be using. There's also a classic database that contains 6 data entry forms, and then they have the longitudinal databases also as templates. And longitudinal databases are typically where you'll create this database, and then you'll like say you need to repeat a data form several times throughout the months. So if you have a participant coming in, you need to get the weight and height or something like that, something similar, maybe some vital signs every 3 months or so. You can use that same form over and over and over again, and it'll be assigned to that participant. It makes it easy that way. But we'll go ahead and get the basic demographic form. So we'll go ahead and create the project. Got everything in. Then you're immediately put into the project setup. What we just did was basically this first step right here. REDCap kind of set it up to where your project setup thing is where you want to be, and it goes from top to bottom. So when you're creating your project, typically you want to start from the top and get this information done as much as possible. I mean, if you can, that's okay. You can always go back, but top to bottom is typically where you want to go. So you got your main project settings. Since I do want to show the survey part in this project, we're going to enable that. So then you'll see this over here appear. If you watch over here, I don't know if you saw it. If I disable it, it'll go away. Enable, it'll come back. And this is where you will go to get your information on where you want. Like right now, I don't have anything. This error message popped up because I didn't assign a survey to use. So what you can do is, since we have this form, we want this. This is a demographic form, has 15 fields already loaded in as the template. We can go ahead and enable the survey, and this comes up with a whole lot of information that you can set up. is this for customization. So survey title, this will be what you want the user to see when they load up your survey. So as that, you got your instructions right here. You can customize it, use HTML fonts and stuff like that if you'd like, and also use some piping in here. But typically piping's meant for data that's already inside of REDCap. Piping is where you can pull information, say a record has first name and last name. You can pipe that into the survey instructions if the record already exists in there, and with that data in there. And they will display it on the survey instructions page or elsewhere if used. If you wanted to, you can choose a logo. Say if you had an image that you want to present as a title, you can choose it. I guess we don't have one, but but you can choose one, and then it'll display at the top of your page. And let's see, and then you can change the themes and other things. So if you need your font larger or smaller, etc. If you need your fonts changed, and if you want a different type of theme that you can choose from. So right here is the default one. You'll see it, a template of it at the bottom. And then you can change it to blue, like different colors. Just choose one that you might like. So.
And then that allows you to customize the theme further if you want to change certain colors.
Yes. Let's see. Yeah, and if you want to get a little bit more in detail, you can actually change the colors and stuff like that. So I'm okay with the default. Question numbering. This is kind of set up as auto-numbered, but you can also custom number your questions, and that goes into when you're developing your project. So I'll keep it as auto-numbered, and I'll show you when I get to that point about what they meant by custom numbered. This is question display format. You can, if you have like a long survey that you want people to take, it would probably be better to set it up on multiple pages, which that entails adding sections to your survey. So I'll go ahead and do that, I guess. And I might try to see. So let's see. Okay, and this is pretty much it. You can go further customizations, but I won't go over too much right there. And then this is the ending of it. So after the participant completes the survey, that's what they get. If you want a confirmation email saying if a survey participant has completed the survey, then you can enable that, and then it will automatically send a message to whoever saying this participant has finished the survey. So
that was coming from you as the project owner or developer?
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming from REDCap system, and then it goes to whoever. So let's see. Oh, I don't want this. All right. Go ahead and save the changes, and now we have a survey set up. So now we go over here. It should show you the different types of links that are available for the survey. So we have this public survey that we can just copy and paste or put it anywhere, or send it out an email or whatnot, wherever you want to put it. If you want to just open it up right away, you can go ahead and do that, and it'll load up the survey. So, and if you remember how I just mentioned that if you put it all on, if you do multiple pages, there's another section at the bottom right here. So once a participant gets done with this page, the data gets saved on it, and then when they go to the next page, and then if they accidentally exit out, then that first page is already saved in the database. So each time you click save, next page, then the participant completes it, and the page is saved for them. It's shown as a record. So see, that's one way. You can also do, if you click on this, it will send an email to you with a survey link. So go ahead and forward that to whoever afterwards. You can also do it by access codes and by also QR codes. So if it's helpful for you and easier for somebody, you can type this in, and then you'll go to a page. Let's see, paste that. All right, you'll come to this page right here, and it'll ask you to enter the access code, which is this right here. You'll type that in. I'll copy and paste it, and then it will bring you to the survey page again.
Nice.
And also this one right here, you'll use this link again. It'll give you that, but when you click on here, it states right here the code will expire in 1 hour basically. So after it's generated, and it can only be used by one time. So if I do that, I type it in, copy and paste, it brings it here again. But if I try to use it again, let's see, it says it's invalid because it was already used.
So like a one-time.
It's a one-time, yeah, it's
Okay.
a one-time one. So you want to be careful about that. And then if you need to print out something for a QR code, you can just use a QR code to send out. So it even has it right here, print out for respondent. So
these are all ways to do public surveys, but you could
Yeah.
also direct to a target audience.
correct. Which will we get to? Let's see. This, I'll have to actually do further customization before I get to this part right here. But right here, I can add, say, test user. So I can add a participant. So and then I can take this demographic survey and compose a survey invitation. And then you can schedule or send it immediately, an email to send out to the participants. I mean, you can add more and more, a bunch more participants at one time and then send it out. But for just this demo, I use one person. I'm not going to send it out, but since I don't know who that person might be. But so you can actually specify a time and a date or when to send it out. Let's see. That sounds good. And then also you can schedule repeat messages. Say if the participant doesn't respond to that message, maybe they didn't see it or something else happened, you can send the message out as a repetition every, say, Monday or so every week at a certain time. And then you can do it multiple times. So maybe up to a month, so 4 times, I guess. And you can schedule like that. And this is where you can type in your message, customize it however you like, and then you can preview it after you're done. So you have the message at the top, and then following it, it would have the link to the survey that they would be taking. So
in this case, it wouldn't be an anonymous survey. It would be a survey tied
correct.
to that.
This would be tied to this participant. So, and then afterwards, you'll see if they responded. If they responded to the message, you'll see it as green light. And if it's been scheduled, you'll see a date. And if it's been sent, you can hover over this and say, see if it's been sent or not been sent. Or if they just so happen to arrive there, you can click on here and then open up the survey, and you'll have it there, and it'll show as logged. You can also do the QR code from here as well. So if you do that, they'll pop up this link. So, and then they have a log behind it, so it'll show you if and when messages have been sent. So, all right, okay. Let's go back to project setup. All right, so we had done with this, the main project set. Modifying the title and purpose. This is where we created the project, so that's all taken care of. We enabled this, and we are going to not enable longitudinal data. That's what I was telling you about, where if you needed to collect certain measurements over a period of time and using the same instrument, data collection instrument, then you can enable that, and it'll help out a lot. So this is where you actually, for the next step is the online designer, and this is where you actually design your data collection instrument. So this one was the template that I told you about, the basic demographic form, and it has 15 fields, and we have it enabled as a survey. And this is the survey settings if you need to go back and modify the stuff. So this is back where we just came from recently. And you can also set up automated invitations as well. I kind of forgot to mention that. So if you needed, like say if you had like a form before that, like a data collection instrument before that that needed certain qualifications, like maybe the participant needed to be over 18 or and had to be male, then you can use that logic and set up a schedule on when that message should be sent out. So if that instrument gets completed and that the logic came out as the person's over 18 and male, you can either send it out immediately, send it on the next day, or send it after a lapse of time, or specify a certain date and time. So it's pretty flexible in that. And the last part is step 4 is where you want it active or not. So
that's useful. Actually, I need to talk to you about that after this meeting. Great.
So demographic form. All right, shows up like this. It's all separated. This is because this is the part where you're developing your survey. So if you want to preview it real quick, this is what it kind of looks like that a participant would take. Of course, there's a little bit more like the title and whatever other stuff you add to it, but this is pretty much what you're getting when you're developing your project. So I'll show you what it's like to add fields for now. So when we add a field, you have a list of fields that you can add. You have a text box, which is basically your phone numbers, your emails, anything like similar to that. And you can add validations to it. So if you do have an email address, whenever a participant types in an email address, it'll validate it and make sure it's an email address before they can click on next or continue with the survey. The same works with data entry as well. So they'll just prompt them and make sure that they're entering stuff. Same with integers, and they also have another validation for phone number right here, and social security numbers, times, dates, stuff like that. So it should help keep data clean.
And those validations come with the product that's supplied.
Yeah. That comes with the product.
Okay.
Nothing extra. Notes paragraph, that's for big fields. If somebody wants to describe how they're feeling about certain things or whatever you need. Calculated fields is to use the text boxes basically. Say if you collected the height and also weight of somebody, you can use the calculated field to calculate the BMI for the participant. Multiple choice, they got drop down, radio, check boxes, yes, no, true, false, etc. Slider analog scales are like vertical scales that you can, I guess, rate from 0 to 1. I'll add it real quick. 0 to 100. Let's see. Just to give you an idea. All right.
Okay.
All right. So that's what a slider is. It basically gives them a scale on how they feel. Okay, so you can either slide it up or slide it down and give a numerical value of it, say from 0 to 100. So you can also display that number there if you like. Nice. I kind of forgot about that, but you'll see it pop up right here. So
That's useful.
Yep. And this is how, to begin a new section, that's how you actually make your survey appear on multiple pages. So let's see. Oh, action tags. These are actually pretty helpful. And David probably knows more about them than I do.
No, but I want to learn more. So.
But action tags are pretty helpful if you want to load up something on your survey, like preload something on your survey, and you don't want anybody to mess with the fields or do other things. But if you click on Learn Action Tags, you'll actually see a list of action tags that you can use in your survey. So it might be helpful to say, okay, what's today's date, and actually use the action tag of today on a certain field, like a text field, and it'll automatically include today's date on that field. And if you don't want anybody to modify that whenever filling out, you can actually do read only, and it will make it not be editable. And you can do a bunch of other combinations on that as well. So
I know these are very powerful, and I know that as REDCap is progressing as a product, they're adding more and more of these and more functionalities.
I believe so. There might be a limit on how many they can add, but yeah. So that's pretty much it on adding a field. Let's see, I'll just get rid of this one. All right. And then they also have the matrix of fields. So matrix of fields are basically if a lot of questions are sharing the same answer bank. I'm trying to think of a good example, but let's see. All right. Let's see. So single, oops, didn't mean to click that, but all right. So you can make something like that. I'll go with. All right, so we got fruit. Add another one. All right. All right, that should be good. This is where if you want to make the fields required, meaning the person can't continue unless they fill it in, stuff like that. So this might be a decent amount. So, and I'll need to put a matrix group name to be able to consolidate them.
Do you use these often?
I have used them quite a bit, to be honest with you. It makes it actually look pretty nice. So what it looks like is this.
Oh.
There could be like a lot of times I might set up another section right here to actually make it look better. So I'll add the section right here, begin new section. Sometimes I've used just a blank spacer. If that works, yeah, that works. So that's just HTML. I use some HTML in here to basically put in a blank space. So I use the section right here. This will actually appear on a different page now since I use the section, but this kind of gives you an idea of what you can do with the use matrices.
That's handy. Yeah.
All right. That's pretty much it on that. I'll get rid of this. All right. So, okay. See, after I'm done with pretty much setting up this stuff, I did forget about something. Using branching logic, I guess, which I kind of need to. Let's go ahead. So branching logic is something that we use to hide or show fields. So if you wanted to add it, it's right here, this little green arrow. So you can say if the participant is male, you can add it right here. Go to the branching logic, and then look for, I guess, I'm not sure exactly which one that was. Looks like it's under sex, so you can drag and drop. If the sex is male, then show the field. If it's not, then it will hide the field. So it's pretty much as simple as that. Branching logic could get a lot more complicated if you'd like, or it can be simple. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So after you're done with your project setup, I think that's it. You can go back to your projects, and then I'm done with this, so you can check that off. This is just for your reference. It doesn't really mean much, but just to let you be track of things. So after you're done, you also have something called a data dictionary. And if you ever wanted to export your project, you can actually download this. And then this is the link right here, and it will give you everything you worked on. So if I downloaded this, it will give me the template of what I've imported into the database, which will open up an Excel file, and I'll show you real quick. It's actually appearing on a different screen. Oh, there it is. All right, so this is what the data dictionary looks like. It has your variable names, the form name, it's on the demographic, the type of text field, the type of field it is. So you have a calculated field, you have a drop-down text fields, etc. The labels, and also the calculations of it as well. So these are the calculated fields where it's going to, for the age, it's going to do round down, date diff, date of birth, and then today, and it's going to calculate the years of it. And the BMI, it's taking the weight over here and multiplying by, I can't really see very well, looks like 10,000.
Yes.
And then divided by height, etc. So, and these are some validations for it. So if the user is typing in a height that is either too high or too low, for this under 130 or over 215, there's an error that pops up inside REDCap for the user saying that, okay, you might have made a mistake, you might have made a typo. Say if something is, maybe you typed in 13, then an error will pop up and saying, okay, there might be something wrong with it. Just go ahead and check. It's a soft validation on it. You can still continue with it, but it's just warning you that there might be something wrong with the data. That's the same with, so we have it stated on height and weight right here. Identifiers, I forgot to mention that while I was going through it. Identifiers are meant for like HIPAA stuff and also for user rights. Whenever you assign user rights to projects or users to projects, they have certain access rights for certain things, and you will want to set those rights. Say maybe a user that's doing data entry, or I'm not sure, well, okay, hypothetically data entry, they shouldn't have access to data exports regarding seeing their participant's first name and last name or whatever, or telephone number, stuff like that. And that's basically to help remove the fields that are being exported. So that might need to be used for data analysis outside of REDCap. So I'll exit this. And also, I did want to mention this while I'm on the top, while I have this open. If you wanted to, you can actually further develop your project inside this Excel document. I've done quite a bit of it. It takes a little time to get used to it, where the columns are and stuff like that. But say if you needed to make a bunch of rows, a bunch of fields appear, then sometimes it might be even faster just to go through Excel and do it that way. But you have to test out your project to make sure everything works fine when you do that. Because I have had issues where, like Excel, when uploading it back into REDCap, it might have saw a question mark as a square box or something like that, just because of what Microsoft kind of prettifies the question marks and stuff like that. So it kind of uses a different character than what might be expected. But they may have fixed that problem. I'm not sure. I haven't ran across it in a while.
So if you do that, if you bring down a data dictionary and then modify it, are you creating a new project when you bring it back to REDCap, or are you putting it back in place on the one that you?
You can. That's a good question. You can do either one. You can create a whole new project in a whole another institution if you'd like, and just upload that data dictionary. Or if you want to share that, share the data dictionary with another institution, then they can pretty much have an exact copy of it, and then that way they're using the same variables that you're using for if you're exporting the data to SAS or whatever. Whatever else, that way you can have common elements if that's the case, or you could re-upload it into your own project and replace the fields, basically adding on to the fields that you have already in there.
I see.
So I usually do it mainly whenever the project is in development mode. I normally avoid it whenever it's in production mode. So just because of some of the caveats with it. So. Go ahead and exit that. And to upload it, you would actually to replace the I can't think right now. To replace the fields that you have currently in, you can just choose the file and then upload it from there. It'll show you a list of files. I guess it'll show you a list of fields that might be affected and stuff like that. So it's pretty fun.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
Potentially dangerous, but very powerful.
Okay. So let's go back to project setup because that is our thing. So we covered Online Designer, Data Dictionary. I'm done. All right. So we have additional optional modules. The repeatable instruments is something that kind of came up more recently. So you can have, say if a person comes in, you might need to take like 3 vital signs in during one visit or something like that. So you might need to get the heart rate monitor 3 separate times, but you need to record it with a form or something. This is all hypothetical. It might not make sense, but to give you an idea, you can have an unlimited amount of forms you can enter in for that one event. It's pretty useful. I would definitely try it. I would definitely play around with it. And also, if you go to the video tutorials, there's a very good explanation of what they are, and also the repeatable events as well.
So I'd like to leave it up to the viewers to decide, but this is on a list that I think we could have as a topic for a later webinar. But I think for database folks out there, repeatable instruments is a way to develop a one-to-many relationship between a parent and child row, if you will, and it's useful if you need perhaps 10 rows or 3 rows or 5 rows at different times.
Well, it's not rows. It's more like it's the actual form. They'll repeat the form as many times as possible. But yeah, you basically look at those rows as you can look at those forms as rows. So
gotcha. So more to come on this, but I think that's a pretty exciting feature too.
Yeah, definitely. This is the auto numbering for records, which I believe I forgot to actually talk about that.
Yeah, I think you did pretty good.
Okay, well, I forgot to show where it's at, but it's okay. All right, inside the fields that we visited, there's a little section where you can number your records. Oh, I'm sorry, not records. I'm sorry. Auto numbering records. You need to actually have this enabled if you're doing public surveys. So auto numbering records will go from 1 to n basically. That way since it's a public survey, a lot of things it's like anonymous. So you kind of need to do it that way. But if you disable, if you do some other type of setup, you can actually change that though. Scheduling module, let's see, this is for the longitude only. That is to help schedule participants. So if a participant needs to come in like maybe 3 months later from the initial time that they first came in, then you can use this module to schedule that 3 months in advance or 6 months in advance or a year in advance. So randomization module, I haven't had too much experience with that, so I'll pass. There might be some sections in there to help detail it. Designate an email to use for invitations. This is where you would look for an email address, so you can actually do that. Enable, we have one set up. It's called email. So you can select that and save it. This is for if a participant fills out a survey, you should be able to use that information to send out for other invitations as well, like future invitations. So, or you can do that through data entry as well. Data entry, it should appear inside of a list. So, bookmarks. All right, so if you wanted to set up a bookmark, say there's a link that your group uses quite often, you can actually set up a bookmark in this section right here. I'll do that real quick, just for fun. Link label, Google. Everybody uses Google, right? So you can set up a link for it. I hope I spelled that correctly. And then we want to open it as a new window because we don't want to overwrite the existing one. So it shows up right here. So this should be visible wherever you're at. So when you click on that, it'll load up a new window and you're at Google. So
I didn't know that was there.
Should be helpful.
Nice.
So you can probably use that for documentation or something like that in your studies. If somebody needs to commonly reference something. Where were we? So we got that. See additional customizations. Okay, so we can go into additional customizations. Say if numbers 1 through n is for your record name is too abstract for you, you can actually set it up to say to show the first name or last name of the participant or something like that, and that would appear inside your record status dashboard and also at the top of your when you're viewing the record as well. So it's pretty helpful, and I've used it quite a bit. And this is where you use piping. So to use piping for single surveys and stuff like that, not longitudinal. Longitudinal, you'll have to reference the actual event name and stuff like that. But for simple surveys, you can just reference it like just open bracket and then close type in the field name. So I forgot exactly what the field name was, but it would be something like this. And first name would be your variable name that you created inside inside your online designer. So secondary unique field. Secondary unique field is it's in combination of your primary identifier. When you're creating a project, you want to have you have to have a primary identifier set as your record that each record is going to be named after. So a lot of people use customary identifiers, so it'd be anonymous, like I don't know, DGAF or 001 or something like that. And I hardly use this one, defining a secondary unique field, but it can be useful from time to time. So you can assign the secondary unique field besides the primary. So if your project needs it. So this is actually pretty helpful. It's actually enabled for by default, which is the field comments log. So you can, if you're going through it, you can add comments inside each field. I'll show you, where it's at, and also you can add comments for each field. Say if something wasn't right with a certain field and they want to add a comment, say data entry, want to add a comment and saying a number should be checked, or for other odd reasons, then you can go ahead and set that up. Yeah, you can allow that, and then also review it later on, which is actually right here. You can see the log link right here, and it'll show a list of logs. And then data history. So when the data entry goes into modifying the or entering records, they'll show who entered the record, what time it entered, and if it's been changed over a period of time. So actually shows the history of that. And that's this little H button whenever you see next to each field. This is the comment log for each field. So display today now button. This is for ease of access. You can disable it if you don't like it. These are all for the text fields that you enter into your database that have like date, month, year, stuff like that. You don't have to have the today now button up here if it doesn't make sense. So, and require a reason for making changes to existing records. It's up to you, but yeah, it can be helpful to have a reason, I would say.
Sure.
So if somebody needs to change something inside a database, they could provide supporting information on why it needs to be changed. So maybe somebody needs to say somebody else told me so, or something like that.
And it'll store it right there next to it. That's nice.
So, all right. Let's see. That's okay. So that's pretty much it for the additional customizations. You can we done the added bookmarks, haven't we? Yeah, that's the Google. The user rights and permissions. This is pretty much essential for your project, so you should know it pretty well. And what this is who gets access to what in your project. So data entry should have probably different rights than somebody who's developing the project, or even the PI or the project manager. So this is where you set all this up. When setting it up, you typically want to set up a role. So data entry would have a role, maybe a project manager would have a role, PI would have a different role. So you can set up these different roles. So PI, I'll do it real quick just to give a demonstration. So the PI might want access to pretty much everything on here. So they would have project. Well, it depends actually. It could be a blinded study or whatnot. So this is where you'll set up all your restrictions on the project for each one. So you can create a role for that. It's been added. Data entry. And then you can do it the same thing. You can create a role. Maybe they might need to rename records. So you'll see the list of things that they have set up right here. So I pretty much have access to everything. Demo 1. And then DEPI has a little bit different settings, which would be right over here. One has rename and one does not. So it's pretty good to actually set up this, make sure you get it right. To assign people to a role, you would just type their name in if they're in the system, and then you can just assign role and then tell them where they're at, put them where they're at, or where they need to be. So, okay, that should be pretty much it for that. For the user rights anyway. Data access groups, a little bit more for bigger projects. Say if you have a cross-site study that is all going to be used in the same database, you'll want to have different groups inside this database. So see, PBRC might be one group, LSU, HSC might be another group, Tulane might be another group, and etc. So what this does is when you assign the users to these groups, they are blinded by the other records from the different sites. So they should only be able to see, like LSU should only be seeing LSU's records, or PBRC should only be seeing PBRC's records, etc. So it's pretty helpful in certain situations.
So you've in here you've defined those data access groups. but then you have to go on and specify
Yes,
which users fall into that.
definitely. As you can see right here, Daniel Lorio can see all the records. I'll let you know that because he is not assigned to a group. So to assign, let's see, so to assign them, you would click right here. But since I'm the only one in the project, they kind of don't want me to do that. So, and then assign. So you should see the list of them there when you start adding. So user rights and permissions, done, done, done. All right. Don't forget to test your project thoroughly. That means check your calculations. If you have calculated fields, make sure your branching logic is branching logic on the right fields. So sometimes, I go back and be like, oops, I put branching logic on the wrong field. So when the participant answers that field, it never comes up. So you want to go back and check your branching logic. You want to check that, check it out, and also export the data. Make sure it looks like what you're looking for. Your results are what you want. You also want to go into, which can help as well, is there's other modules in here called data quality, and then you can, when you're exporting records and stuff like that, you'll want to check that out too. You can look at the stats and stuff. We'll get to that in a moment. And then, but yeah, after you're done with that, you can move your project to production status. So when you click on here, you get this nice little warning. I still get scared whenever I click on it, to be honest with you. It is all red and it's very scary. You either can keep all the data that you saved so far, so that should be just test dummy data, or you can do, but if you accidentally entered like a real live data that you can't just remove, then we can actually just move it with the actual data in there. But a lot of times I'll use delete all data, so it'll remove all your test records and stuff like that. So, and it's pretty thorough on what you're doing. And then click on confirmation, and after that we should get a email saying that you would like to move your project to production status. So that's it for this page. It's quite a long page. It's a lot of work to do on that, but I think you should be good. So data quality. Let me see. I'm gonna go back out. I kind of created a REDCap database earlier, and I added a couple records. So I'll go out and go through that. So this one right here, you'll see we have 2 records right here, and I will go through that. And we're going to look at the reports and records. So you can look at all the report. So when you look at the report, you can look at all the reports. So all data. It'll show the list of records, 1, 2 through however many you have, and this is what we've collected so far. I've left fields empty, stuff like that, for data quality purposes, for testing, which I'll show you in a moment. But if you wanted to, if this data looks good, if all the fields that you want are there, then you go ahead and click Export Record, and then you can export in different types of statistical programs, I guess. So you can do Excel, you can do SAS, R, Stata, ODM, which I've never really heard of, but yeah, should be pretty helpful if you have any of these or prefer to use them anyway. And this is where you can you should be able to look for, yeah, here it is, remove all tagged identifiers. So this is where if you want to export the data and you remove like everybody's first name or last name or all the phone number, if you want to remove all that, you would click on that. That's why it's important to specify if a field is considered an identifier or not, if you expect to do this in some certain time. So you can do that and export the data. So should be pretty clean on that. You can customize these reports even further if you like. Let's see, by making custom selections. So you can you can select one form if you want to just export that. or you can create, let's see, create your own report. So if you say you want maybe three fields from here, you can go ahead and remove whatever fields you don't want, or by clicking on Quick Add, you can just quickly select them or deselect whatever fields you want. So if you just want first and last name, you can go ahead and do that, select that, and then you can create your report where it'll just show first name and last name. I think I have data in there. Should be good. So I think everything else looks good. This is where you can filter certain things. So you can say if a certain field, say you just want males or something like that, male or female, but I'll go ahead and remove that since we only have 2 records. All right, and then you can save the report. So report name is first name and last name. So I'll go ahead and save the report. It'll appear right here at the bottom right here. These are the saved reports. So go ahead and review the report. So first name and last name, this is a report, and you can export it to SAS if you need. So that's good to go. And data quality. I would like to talk about data quality because I think it's overlooked by a lot. But this is where you can go back and make sure that certain fields are entered correctly, or making sure that your data is complete. You can so for this, see how many fields might be missing values. You go ahead and press execute. Oh, there's 8 fields that are just missing values. Why? And then you can go click on view. It'll show the fields that are missing data. And if you wanted to, you can click on one of these right here, and you'll be brought to the record. So clicking on that, brought to the record, and you should be able to see where it was at. I forgot which field I clicked on. That's probably phone number, but yeah.
So you can run these data quality checks at any time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, anytime you want. So yeah,
more than once.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each every time. This is for missing values for required fields. Say somehow they outsmarted you or me. Say if a field is required, they clicked on save, but it saved the record, but they just didn't have anything entered in it. They got the prompt that was a required field, but it just it saved the record. It just doesn't have anything in it. Since we don't have any required fields on there, it's going to be 0. So, and for the rest of them, I checked it out. They didn't have any issues. But this is where you can add additional requirements for your data quality. So you can run it, and also you can run it while people are entering data. So this is what this is for. Execute real-time on data entry forms. So if you set up a data quality rule saying that certain things needed to be a certain way, through, like say, actually I have an age right here, and it wasn't, then it could prompt them and say a certain thing. So
this is great. I hadn't actually dug into this before. So
yeah,
this is a topic unto itself.
So, all right, I think that's pretty much it. That was a mouthful.
Yeah, we're running up against the REDCap Hour time limit here.
Are we?
Yeah, that was great, Daniel. Okay, why don't I see? We haven't had any chat conversation questions, but I can unmute everyone to see if anyone had any questions. Oops, sorry, switch. Oh. Okay, I went ahead and unmuted you all. If anyone had any questions for Daniel before we go on, we just have a few more slides to cover. Were there any questions out there about Daniel's content? Okay, all right. Well, just to wrap things up, I don't want us to run too far over. If you're interested in using REDCap, how do you start? How do you start using REDCap with LeCats? Well, the best way to do that is to go ahead through Spark. If you go to spark.lecats.org, you can sign up, create an account there, and then request REDCap services by selecting REDCap here on the left-hand side of the screen. And you can see REDCap services that are available to you there. Oh, I don't see. I hear there are questions in the conversation history, but I don't see. I apologize, I'm not seeing it. Conversation history. Brian, can you read those questions? I'm sorry. Let's see.
That's weird.
Okay, we'll try to get to those questions. I apologize for that. We might be having a little bit of technical difficulty. Let me go ahead and wrap this up, and then we'll see what else we can find in terms of questions. Just to restate some of the points that Daniel brought up, when you're moving a project to production, there are some things you need to keep in mind. That deployment to production is approved by the REDCap admin. Those user rights that Daniel showed you for different roles within the project are defined. And let's see, that changes after the actual project is in production need to be reviewed by REDCap admin. And of course, all IRB and IACUC approvals must be obtained prior to moving that project to production. Oh, okay, here's a question. Thank you, Brian. So, will the form calculate BMI from the height and weight? That's a question from John Benchier. And can fields be set as required in order to submit?
Yes.
Okay,
so both.
So, will the form calculate BMI from the height and weight?
Yeah. You'd have to. You would have to use your own calculated formula inside REDCap if you wanted to calculate your BMI. But they should have a sample inside the help and fact section inside REDCap that actually uses that formula. If you wanted to look at that.
Okay, great. And can fields be set as required in order to submit? I think that's getting into an action code.
It is more of an action code, yeah. If it's on the, let's say if you do multi-page surveys, then getting to the next page, they would have to fill in the data that's on that current page. But if they get to the last page where the submit button is, then I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen on that page. It might submit and save, or it could prompt an error, or both. I'm not sure exactly as far as technical goes, but yeah.
And we can provide examples of these for next time. These are good questions, but we can follow up with you on that. Emily Harville asks, where is the data stored after it is entered?
Since it's entered at PBRC, but
right. So the data is stored in sort of a meta table structure within MySQL, right?
Yes. Yeah, MySQL.
So it's you got to see some import and export facilities when Daniel was demoing that, but in the background it's stored within a MySQL database here in our data center at Pennington, but it is available to extract right out of REDCap.
Yeah.
So, Kieran says it looks very attractive so far. Could you provide info on opening a new account for those at LSU? Thanks. Yeah, so Kieran, that would be Spark. So I'll back up to that slide. If you go to spark.lecats.org, there you can obtain an account and request services for REDCap. I have a new question. This is good. Let's see.
And also referring to that last question, there is a if you just wanted to get your feet wet to try out for 7 days, Vanderbilt does offer a 7-day free trial and as a demo, so you can play around with that. And after 7 days, your account becomes invalid, and then they purge the system, I guess. So you can even try that out and see what that's about.
And we'll put a link up to that shortly. So
and I can't stress how much the video tutorials actually help out when producing these projects. It's helped out quite a bit. They're very detailed. There's a lot of help sections inside REDCap on what to do and how to do it, especially in helping back. It's pretty helpful when it comes to using branching logic and also for fields as well. So.
That's a great point. Let me go ahead and skip ahead because I have some information we can include in our next meeting. But just to recall, never forget if you're using LeCat's resources to cite LeCat's, here's a link for that. And if you're using REDCap, make sure you cite REDCap. Again, a link that will show you how to cite both products, and we can make these available to you as well. And then finally, here are those links that Daniel just mentioned about a free 1-week demo provided by Vanderbilt. So this will give you free access to a REDCap site at Vanderbilt. It'll allow you to do some testing to see if this could be for you. If you want to do some testing before you contact us via Spark to get an account. And then that shortcut to training resources will take you to Vanderbilt's training library, where a lot of good content is.
It's either Vanderbilt's or ours. I'm not sure exactly which one we used, but it should take you some video.
Yeah, I think it will. Let's see. I think this will end up. Yes.
But they're hosted by Vanderbilt anyway, so.
Okay. I think I'm having a zero issue there. Anyway, but these are good shortcuts to use. So let's see if we had any more questions come through on the text. Joel's question from Brian. Let's see. Sorry, again, we're having a bit of a technical difficulty with our chat facility. Joel says, REDCap shared library is helpful. Some standardized surveys or templates are useful. You can only access once you have a REDCap account. So I think you may be able to access those via this 1-week demo, perhaps?
Not sure, but I think you might be able to actually access it. You can access it inside REDCap with an account, yeah. There might be a way you can actually access it through other means. I think through Vanderbilt, maybe. You might be able to see, I don't know if you can actually download those things, but you can actually see the list of what they have in the library.
So what we can do is if we find some more information on your questions, we can include that in an email to the list.
Sure.
That'd be a way to get the information out to everyone.
Yeah, I did forget about the library though. That is pretty helpful.
Download the libraries. There's thousands of them out there.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt.
And it's an easy way to develop your quick way to help develop your project. So, and what they are is common forms that might be used in research that's been developed and put out in this library, so to speak. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap things up for now. But I want to encourage everyone. Well, first, thank you for participating today, and encourage you to check out the REDCap feedback survey link there. Give us some feedback on what you saw today, what you'd like to see in the future, how we can shape this seminar around your needs. If you have specific questions, you can let us know between now and our next webinar, which will be in late September. That data will be coming out soon. So unless anyone has any other questions, we'll call it a wrap for today.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.